And welcome back to Pokemon Fan Teams, or whatever. I still haven't figured out a name for this series yet. What would this character's Pokemon team be video series? This one comes to us from, where is said person's name? Said person's name is right here. Smolder and Oculus of the Young Six. A My Little Pony name. And that is because you asked for the Pokemon team of the Young Six from My Little Pony. Now, and I want to get their names up right now so I do not forget who is who here. Now, the thing about the Young Six is this. I don't watch My Little Pony. I think you can tell I'm not to say that My Little Pony is actually, for kids or anything like that. There's a reason the term brony exists. That's actually has a very wide and dispersed fan base, and which is fine. Absolutely, I'm not judging anyone for their liking or disliking or whatever of the series whatsoever. But it's not something I've ever gotten into, watched, or even care about, if I'm going to be frank. So that's why it's very difficult for me to do things like the Lantern Corps video for the Young Six. I'm like, I don't know their personalities. Even the personalities I'm given a description of are not very in-depth. Their abilities are not very in-depth. Like the pony, for instance. Which one is that? Hold on. The pony, I believe, is Silverstream. It's either... Or is it... I think Silverstream is the Hippogriff. Yeah, Silverstream is the Hippogriff, who, let's be honest, as Hippogriffs go, just looks like a Pegasus. No, it's Sandbar. Sandbar is just a straight pony. Sandbar has no abilities or power sets whatsoever. So that makes it a bit trickier to do a team build for it. All these guys only have so much personality and so many abilities to make a full team for. And then you have the issue of making a full 6 Pokemon team for 6 different characters in one video. I don't have the time of day, I don't have the information, and I don't have the screen space for something like that. So, and there's just not enough information for me to warrant making them a full 6. Some of them, like Smolder, and Oculus, I could probably get away with it based on their designs and a little bit I know about them. But other characters like Sandbar or Yona the Yak, what I believe is Glacius the Griffin, Glacius the Griffin. There's not enough information between their personality and little abilities that they are shown that to have me warrant doing that. So what I decided to do for this particular team, I guess just Team What If, for this particular team build, is we're basically just going to assign each particular character from the Young Six a Pokemon. It seemed the most simple. It seemed to make the most sense. And I think it's the most effective way to go about it. Treat essentially the Young Six as like maybe the best of the best within their respective, group of trainers or whatnot, and they each have a Pokemon that is their main Pokemon that is leagues beyond maybe your normal Pokemon or whatever. Maybe not. Remember, I'm technically using the picture of them in their graduated states. It was the first picture I could find. As it turns out, that's not them. The Young Six do have like their non-graduated forms, but either way. So let's just get into it. So let's start off with actually the one who will be the focus of the who would win today, Smolder the Dragon, who you can see is the orange one up top. Now, Smolder, being a dragon, does have a couple abilities. Smolder can breathe fire, is actually immune to heat and fire-based attacks, can fly, and has enhanced physicality. In terms of personality, it didn't really play a factor for me because when you looked at Smolder, okay, whatever Pokemon Smolder's Pokemon was going to be, it had to be a fire type. And if I could aim for a dragon type or dragon-esque Pokemon, that would make sense. So, and immediately you're like, okay, Dragon Fire, Charizard, go Charizard. And In theory, that would work, but even, let's be clear here, too, even graduated, these are still young characters. They're not, like, full adults or anything like that. So, for me, I actually went Charmander. I felt Charmander made the most sense in this case, because it's a young... It's a salamander. It's a salamander not in the sense of an amphibian, but in the sense of the legendary creature, the salamander, a fire-breathing lizard, which eventually turns into Charizard, who's, even though not a dragon, I love Charizard fine, but I'm not like the fan base like Charizard's great, Charizard is truth. Is it? I mean, I love Charizard, but is it? But yeah, Charmander is a young and training dragon. And while I'm using the graduated designs here, if we go back to their original designs, like as they are starting out, Charmander, I think, makes 100% the most sense for someone like Smolder, a young starting out dragon with a lot of potential, but still has a ways to go. So I felt Charmander fit perfectly for Smolder. And well, let's move Charmander a bit closer there. There you go. Be close to your trainer. So then we go into Oculus, who is a changeling. Now, when I hear changeling, I'm like, okay, well, there's pretty much only one real Pokemon that I need to make Oculus's Pokemon. To be fair, though, before I go this route, there is at least one other Pokemon that can learn the ability to transform, and that is Mew. So, obviously, I went Ditto. I went it just made the most sense. It's a changeling. It can turn into any Pokemon it wishes, it desires, it sees. It made the most sense. Now, that being said, in defense of someone who would argue something besides Ditto, Mew is a possibility, because Mew is the only other Pokemon that can learn Transform. That would be interesting if we get into Gen 9 and we get another Pokemon that can learn Transform to, like, create some, not issues, but questions about the nature of Ditto itself. There's theories that say Ditto was an imperfect clone of Mew, hence they share the same color and can both learn Transform. But because it was an imperfect clone, it's basically just a giant living cell with a face. And it only had one ability that it was able to keep from Mew, and that is Transform. But still, I could see arguments, though, for Bug and Fairy, because Oculus does have Fairy and Bug-like design to it. It does look a little insectoid with its eyes and its wings, but it also has a very fey appearance along with that. So I could see anyone arguing like for Fairy and Bug on the team along with Ditto if I were to make them individually. Now, and that's the thing. If you want me to try to force a 6-man team for each of these characters, you will have to specifically request one for each of these characters. Because I know for a fact that, let's see here, Killif from My Little Pony and Sandbar both have had requests for them specifically, but not every single member of the My Little Pony team has that request. But regardless, Ditto is Oculus's main Pokemon here. So moving on, we move on to Glacius the Griffin. And immediately when I saw that, I'm like, okay, I gotta pick a Pokemon for this guy. I'm like, crap, there isn't a Griffin Pokemon yet. There needs to be a Griffin. How have we not had a Griffin Pokemon yet? Seriously, Game Freak. Do you know how cool Griffins are? We haven't even had a proper Pegasus Pokemon. What the hell? And also, to go to Yona real quick, we haven't had a Yak Pokemon yet either. That one's not as near high demand, but still. We also haven't had a Dolphin Pokemon yet. Like, seriously, we need a Dolphin Pokemon. There's a lot of space left for Pokemon. Have you seen some fan designs for Fakemon? Like, seriously, Game Freak, what do you plan? Is it like your long game here? Maybe the next region is actually going to be based on, like, Rome and Greece. That would actually be pretty sweet. And that's where you get your Pegasus and Griffin Pokemon. Maybe those are your box legendaries. Who knows? Regardless, so I'm like, okay, I got to figure out something for this guy. He has no real abilities apart from being a Griffin, so he could fly. And he's wearing armor. Okay, so he's kind of a fighter. He's got armor on. And he's got bird-like features, so maybe a bird fighting type. But there's no flying type. And like, wait a minute. Yes, there is. So his main Pokemon for him is Hawlucha. The Luchador. And I mean, to be fair, when you compare the two, if they're not blending in too much here and everything that's going on here, Let's actually put him over. Yeah, he stands out better over here. There is I mean, it's obviously it's not an apples to apples comparison, but there is a similarity here. I mean, it looks like he's wearing a luchador mask, aka similar to Glacius, sorry, Glacius' helmet. So, and they're both fighters. Obviously, clearly, this is designed to be somewhat like a Roman centurion's armor. So, I felt that this would be the closest to, we'll just put him right down here for him. It's like, hello, hey buddy, yeah, hey buddy. We'll put him right here. I felt this would be the closest one to Matt for Glacius, definitely. Or I keep saying Glacius, it's just Glacius or Glacis. Or I don't know what his name's actually pronounced. Glacius. It's not Glacius. Glacius is a different character from Killer Instinct. But yeah, I felt this was probably the appropriate one to go with. Now let's talk about Yona the Yak. As I mentioned, there are no Yak Pokemon. I actually would really like a Yak Pokemon, to be honest. And if my fear, and we'll talk actually more about this when we get to more predictions for Pokemon for Gen 9. If my theory about India is correct, like a lot of people's theories are, who believe India it may be the next region we go to, because the Himalayas basically border India, and we'd probably include that, we could very well get a Yak Pokemon in Gen 9. I think the Yak Pokemon would be cool. It would probably be like a normal Ice type. In fact, it would be the perfect candidate for a normal Ice type. But yeah, so I'm like, okay, what's the closest thing do we have right now to a Yak? Yaks are in the bovine family. They are related to animals like buffaloes and cows. Okay, well, we already got a big buffalo Pokemon in Buffalont. Now, you might ask, well, why not Tauros? I'm like, Tauros could work, but Tauros very much is a bull. And even though Buffalont is also technically a bull, it should theoretically, honestly, have been an evolution to Tauros, to be honest. It has a lot more hair on it, which is indicative of Yaks, which are very shaggy animals. So I felt Buffalont really made the most sense for Yona the Yak. So yeah, Yona got Buffalont, absolutely. Now let's talk about the most plain individual of the entire group. No offense, Sambar, but you're just a fucking pony compared to a Yak. Even a Yak is a bit more interesting than a pony compared to a Yak, a dragon, a griffin, a hippogriff, and a changeling that can be whatever it is. You kind of fallen up short here. So I'm like, okay, well, ponies, horses, what do we have here? We got Ponyta, well, that's just fire, and Rapidash is just still, Rapidash technically is a unicorn, too, technically. But, I mean, like, okay, they kind of work, but no, that's not really how I want to play that out. Okay, well, what about Zebstrike and Zebstrika? Anyway, the zebra Pokemon from Gen 5. I'm like, kind of, not really, because they're too special. Like, they have the lightning ability and stuff. Like, that makes them too unique and individualistic. Okay, so what else do I have? And I'm like, well, technically we got a My Little Pony and Galar with Ponyta. Galar form. Technically it's still a unicorn, but let's be honest here. That's a My Little Pony. Like, hold on, I'm going to put it right up to, was it Silverstream? That's her name? Yeah, Silverstream. If I may, Silverstream. Sorry, hold on, Halucha. Yeah, you could, or put her right out next to Oculus right here. Whoop! Hey everyone. Yeah, it's like that is a My Little Pony right there. Frankly, it's far more My Little Pony like than this guy's. He'd probably date this thing if this Ponyta was in his world. But I mean, it's not. So the Galarian form of Ponyta made 100% the most sense. Now to be fair, there are also the most recent Pokemon too, the two steeds of Calyrex that I could have gone with. But they're one's an Ice type, one's a Ghost type, and quite frankly, they're far too powerful for someone like this character. Who, again, I'm sure is a nice character, ultimately learns something down the line, has abilities, but he did not mesh. Let's be honest, even if he got powerful, those are the steeds of royalty. If I were dealing with a character who was royalty, who rode a noble steed, like if I were dealing with Perseus, for example, who had Pegasus, There is no Pegasus Pokemon, but because there's a Royal Steed Pokemon with those 2 Pokemon, those could count. One I think is like Spectre or something like that. I can't remember the other one. They're so recent, even I don't remember their names. Actually, I do have Sarah B up from the video I gotta do, so maybe I could check, but I'm not gonna. Well, actually, no. I could check and it wouldn't. Yeah, I could check and it wouldn't ruin anything. Those 2 Pokemon's names are Glastrier and Spectrier. So those are your names. Those are your legendaries for that. But yeah, those don't fit because those would be more tailored to a character of royalty than this guy. So last but not least, we have the Hippogriff. And you want to talk about probably the one I had the most difficulty figuring something out for. Okay, I mean, like, Smolder's a dragon. He's a fire dragon. Easily can work with that. I either give him a dragon or I give him Charmander. I believe it's a him. I give him Charmander. Oculus is changeling. Ditto made the most sense. Sandbar, a little difficult, but there's a My Little Pony Pokemon, basically, so that made sense. Yana the Yak, I just had to figure out something that was bovine-esque. That one made most sense. The Griffin one was difficult, but I'm like, okay, there's nothing that's really a Griffin, but I did have something that really kind of worked towards that. There is nothing that represents a hippogriff, not even anything close that represents a hippogriff in Pokemon. Hell, there's barely anything in Magic the Gathering, for God's sake. There are hippogriffs now, though, in Magic Gathering Day. I think they showed up. Actually, there was one a long time ago, but it was so long ago that you don't even really recognize it. It literally was a hippo with wings. Then when we remade hippogriffs, they now look more like cranes with like a hippo's body and the wings. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to really play around here a little bit. Okay, she is tailor-made for the water. She can, I believe, because she has wings. That's the thing. She has wings, so can she? If I'm not mistaken, she can both fly, swim above average strength, and breathe underwater. So whatever Pokemon I give this character, it has to be a water type at that point. I think that's just a given. It has to be a water type. So I'm like, okay, looking through the water types, what do we have that could fit with a hippogriff? Looking at all the water flying types. No, all the water flying types really are just Pokemon that are like birds. There, you get the occasional thing that's a little different than the birds. Say like I'm trying to remember some of the water flying types, honestly. Yeah, you know what? Give me a second. I believe I looked this up initially. Where are my water flying types? Because most of your water flying types are they're bird type Pokemon. Because you get your Wingulls. Lugia. Actually, Lugia is not a water flying type. He's a water psychic type. You get Gyarados. Gyarados is very different, but it's supposed to represent the koi or the carp that makes it up the waterfall in terms of Dragon. Mantine, but it's a manta ray, so that didn't work. Wingull, Pelipper, they didn't work. What else did we have here? Was there any other? Well, Swanna was one. Mantike, and Ducklet. Water flying, it just didn't. So I couldn't go, and Cormorant. Mostly it's birds and some obscure things. So I'm like, okay, I can't go with water flying. So maybe if I go with something that's water design similar to it, and I'm like, okay, do I have anything that is even close to the design of Silverstream? And like anything else, Arceus? No, because I'm not giving her God. Let's be honest, she's not a character that deserves God as a Pokemon. Not to say she's probably not a great character, but let's be honest, she does not deserve an Arceus. I know next to nothing about this character, and even I can tell you, it's like she's not getting a damn Arceus. I'm not doing that. There was that option. Oh crap, I didn't even think about that option. But either way, I ultimately chose, and I think it just plays more towards My Little Pony motif. I ultimately chose Keldeo. So Keldeo was the one I ultimately ended with. And when you really break it down, I think it does fit the best. Now, to be fair, when I just look now, I'm like, I could have gone Silvally, and that does have a hippogriff. Also has a bit of a griffin-like design, too, now that I say it out loud. So I guess I could have gone those routes. for either of those two. Made Silvally a fighting type for Glacius or Glacius, or made it a water type when dealing with Silverstream. But and in hindsight, I might change that. I might, if I were to redo this, change it up to Silvally for Glacius, because it does look more like a Griffin than something like Hawlucha does. But I don't know if I don't think I'd go the Hippogriff route in terms of Silvally. I don't think so. I do like Keldeo better. It's still a pony, so it fits in the world of My Little Pony. It is a water fighting type. It has that advantage to it as well. And I think it just fits better. It's a younger Pokemon. It's supposed to be the D'Artagnan of the Three Musketeers. So it's a Pokemon still learning its power, still trying to develop. So even with graduation pictures here, them graduating and ready to fight, I still think this works a little bit better. But I will admit, realizing I completely forgot about Silvally and the fact it could be every type similar to Arceus. But it's nowhere near as, up on the totem pole of power as Arceus is. It does make me go, I should have probably gone that route. So, in hindsight, I might have gone Silvally for Glacius. That's best I could say. But that is the Pokemon of the Young Six. This was a crap show of a video, to be honest. So much going on in here right now. But just to recap, just so you remember, and just so it left up to confusion. Charmander for Smolder. Ditto right here for Oculus. Sandbar here got a My Little Pony, Ponyta. Yona the Yak got Buffalon right here. Whoop. Let's move him out of the way. Oh, yeah, no, just so he's not hiding behind someone. Buffalon for Yona the Yak. You had Hawlucha, which I would probably end up changing to Silvally for Glacius. And finally, you had Keldeo for the Hippogriff Silverstream. So that's my thoughts on the Pokemon these characters would have. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comments below. If you're going to make your own teams for these guys, what would their teams be? If you want me to make teams for these individual characters, you have to give them to me individually. Don't just give me the Young Six, because you're not going to get a full team for every one of these guys otherwise. But either way, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you folks later. Have a good one.